Hi everyone, welcome back to Healthy with Nicole. I'm Nicole Carter and I healed myself from ulcerative colitis and I'm here to help you fix your digestion as well. In today's video, I want to talk about the trend of low carb and what's happening, what I'm seeing in the nutrition space online. It's pretty interesting because I went through the low carb space, as you know, through the carnivore diet and all that to heal my ulcerative colitis. And then I ended up having a bunch of other problems instead. And right now dealing with insulin resistance, just trying to reverse that. But in the process, I have found so many other great benefits of increasing my glucose and basically carbohydrate and sugar intake. And I really have come to the realization that a lot of this is stemming from people trying to lose weight and then increasing their foods that are tough on their digestion. So for example, I've had a lot of people lately coming to me because they're having problems with their digestion. And I ask them about what they're eating, and they're eating super low calorie, mostly vegetables and protein. And the problem with that is that those are the foods that are harder to digest, the vegetables, and then they are not getting enough carbohydrates to keep the stress hormones down, and their body is continually running gluconeogenesis. So what I'm seeing is that this is a problem. There's two sects of people that eat garbage food and they know that and they wind up having problems, or people that eat extra healthy and they feel like they're eating as healthy as possible. How could they possibly be having health problems? And I really think this is it. Since increasing my caloric intake almost 1,000 calories, I haven't really noticed any change in my body. My weight has stayed pretty much the same except for like 2 pounds. But what I think is really common is people are just obsessing about weight loss. And if it wasn't for social media and the way society is now because of that, I don't think women especially would be questioning themselves in their bodies. It's like wouldn't even be an issue. But because they start to starve themselves essentially. And this has been studied in the Minnesota Starvation Experiment. I have the book on it. I read it. It's really, really eye-opening. But they essentially starved people. And what I mean by starving is they fed them 1,500 calories a day, which you might think, well, that's not starving, but it is technically. And it's what most people are eating. In fact, a lot of people aren't even eating that. The last handful of women, mostly, that I have talked to are eating around 1,100 calories, 1,200 calories a day, and they're gaining weight. And they have all kinds of digestive problems. So just as a side note, the Minnesota experiment, the Minnesota Starvation Experiment, you can get the book on Amazon. It's fantastic, interesting read. The psychopath that was the doctor was Ansel Keys, and he put them through this experiment for, I forget the duration, but it was pretty long, maybe 6 months. And these men were starved essentially to a 1,500 calorie diet. And they experienced severe health problems, mental illness, digestive problems, ulcerative colitis, skin problems, sleep problems, anxiety, depression, and an obsession over food. And so it's not that far-fetched to think about how we eat these days and how, especially women, I'm going to pick on women because women are far more prone to dieting than men, from what I'm seeing. And then we have all these digestive repercussions and everything else because of this focus on, vegetables and high density, low calorie foods. When if we were to otherwise do what I'm now experiencing, and I think this has been a really interesting experiment, is eating high carbohydrate with sugar, eating all of the sugar and carbs and starch, and just keeping the fats low so that you don't have insulin resistance, that you'll probably lose weight. And I know that there are people that are doing that right now, and they're losing weight because they are no longer insulin resistant, because they're getting enough calories and they are keeping their carbohydrate intake high. So their body doesn't need to go into that stress state. And that stress state is what the Minnesota Starvation Experiment was all about. The starving of the body creates a lot of problems, a lot of symptoms. And just for the average person, and especially women, again, who are maybe going through menopause, now you are, which is a stressed state, right? It's like high cortisol. Your estrogen is higher than any time in your life, not lower, it's higher. Progesterone is the first thing to drop in perimenopause. And so you're in this stress state, and now you're going to starve your body and put it under further stress. And so we wonder why we're seeing anxiety and depression, poor moods, just unhappy people. And I've kind of been down that road. So I want to just share that I think that the low carb thing is being busted now. And you'll see even some big names in the social media and nutrition world like Peter Attia, and I think Dave Asprey, and there's others that are moving away from low carb diets. And even Thomas DeLauer, he was using the keto diet to lose a lot of weight, and he did. And now he's learned a lot of this and getting the understanding that glucose spikes aren't the problem. It's so long as you come down and you stay in a normal range the rest of the time, that's the important piece. We don't need to be afraid of glucose spikes. So don't let that determine what you eat. You still need to eat foods that you can digest, but if we're obsessing on caloric intake and trying to eat the lowest calorie foods, that's gonna really cause problems with our digestive system and everything else. So I would encourage you to take a look at your diet, maybe track your intake and see where you are, because a lot of people have no idea what they're taking in. And tracking that on an app like Chronometer is super helpful, because you'll get a sense of where you stand and what you need to do from there. And this idea that calories in, calories out, if you need to lose weight, you should eat less and move more, is not accurate, because I'm doing that myself. And I work with people that are already in a very low calorie state. So we call that a low energy state. They just aren't even meeting their body's needs, their requirements for basic life. And so they're having a lot of health problems because of that. And so simply eating more and eating enough of the right things can reverse a lot of those problems. And I think it may have something to do with a lot of the colitis people that I'm talking to as well. Instead of chasing the lower calories, use your Chronometer app to make sure you're getting enough calories, and hopefully stop beating yourself up over dieting and body image and that kind of stuff. So I'd like to hear in the comments if you have an experience with shifting from a low carb diet to a high carb diet and what you've experienced. I've been talking about it here, and I'm going to continue talking about it because I do think it has a big impact on our digestive system. But I'd love to hear from you. So comment below if you've had this experience and what it's been like for you, and I'll see you in the next video.